Hi, welcome to another devlog for AAA Simulator, the game industry satire where your profits are as limitless as your greed. And to reach those profits, you'll need some hefty modifiers, which you can get from the game's events and experts. I want to tell you a little bit about that modifier system. This will be good for anyone who's interested in taking a look under the hood of a tycoon roguelike, or anyone who's mathematically challenged like myself, but you still want to make an interesting modifier system. I'm no expert in modifiers, I'm pretty bad at math like I just said, but I have designed some narrative stat systems for games in the past, so I wanted to make a system that's easy to use from a design perspective with all the heavy calculations taken care of by the back end of the tool. And let's just address the elephant in the room. You might think I'm stupid for making a tycoon game while I'm so aware of the mathematical weakness I keep mentioning over and over again, but I decided to do this for a good reason. One of my developer friends once said they try to learn one new thing with every project, be that some form of art, animation, or a new technique. I like that philosophy, so I decided to start applying it to my own projects. The skill I'm trying to master with AAA Simulator is economy design, and there's no better way to do that than by making an economy game. Anyway, back to the modifier system. Before, I was attaching scripts to certain objects and doing the equations there. The profit bar has a script to calculate profit, the hype bar has a script to calculate hype, etc. But this way of doing things started to get really complicated when I started calculating things like labor output. For example, I needed to write modifiers for the fact that unsatisfied workers are less productive, which lengthens the time to release, which leads to less public hype, which means less sales. With such a tangled web, I needed to tweak and balance these values without breaking things that already worked, and without forgetting any of the interconnected pieces in this complicated dance. I decided I needed a centralized controller to keep track of all the stats in their mods, which all the other systems could refer to whenever they needed. I called it the Stat Lord. This is an old Unity habit of mine. Instead of naming everything things like Scene Manager and Sound Manager and having 1,000 managers, I decided it was more fun to call them things like Scene Emperor and Sound Contessa. And I know for clean code purposes, naming conventions are a thing, but I can honestly remember everything easier with this system, and it's my game, so my code can be however I want it to. So I created the Stat Lord and started giving it functions to modify each of the main stats. If the profits calculation wants to check for modifiers on daily sales, it asks Stat Lord to do it, and any applicable modifiers are returned. And here's the part that makes things easier for my designer mind to comprehend. The modifiers are physical nodes that are attached to the Stat Lord. Well, they're digital, but I can move them with my mouse, so they might as well be physical objects to my mind. Of course, I could have done this with arrays or something, but making them into nodes just works best for me. Each modifier node is a certain class, like hype modifier or daily sales modifier. I can fill in information like whether it's activated on hiring or on firing, the amount that it adds or multiplies, and the duration in days. If I set a duration of 10 days, for example, the modifier will get less potent over those 10 days until it disappears completely and is removed from the game. Then all I need to do is snap these to an event or an expert, and they have slightly different behavior depending on what they are and what they're connected to. So say you get the sexual harassment lawsuit event. If you decide to hire, there's a modifier to reduce your money by 20%, and one to increase your hype by 5%. If you fire, satisfaction goes down by 20%. The UI also reads the attached modifiers and gives little graphical representations of what will happen if you choose that choice. So if you choose to hire, the money and hype modifiers are actually attached to the Stat Lord, where it'll apply them to the correct stats until they expire. Experts are a little different. The modifiers stay attached to them, so if you hire an auteur, the Stat Lord goes through each expert and reads his hype modifier every day and doubles hype, complete with some floating numbers, which I'm still working on, so don't panic about the visuals just yet. Then when you fire him, he takes his modifier with him and goes. And if you're wondering what the difference is between the adder and multiplier, congratulations, you're good at math. Adding a percent is the same as multiplying, but they look different to the player in the UI, and that's hopefully juicy enough to entice the gambling part of your mind just a little bit. Speaking of UI feedback, in the future I'm thinking of letting the players see the modifiers that are currently attached to the Stat Lord, what event caused them, and how long they have left before they expire. The more I test this game, the more I think that more feedback to the player about the stats will equate to more fun. It gives the randomness of the events and experts that card counter aspect of control that's so satisfying in roguelikes. Anyway, that's it for now. I just wanted to show you my system for modifiers and see what you think. I'm sure there's some clever system I haven't thought of, but I don't exactly see developers sharing their algorithms very often, and I have to make them up myself. So hopefully this has either been helpful or interesting to someone. And if you want more updates about AAA Simulator, head on over to Steam and give it a wish list. Thanks for watching.